This is VOA Africa.
Hello, I'm Esther Githui-Ewart. It's Friday, November 6th. This is Africa 54. Due to the global outbreak of coronavirus, Voice of America is taking every necessary precaution to safeguard its employees. So our broadcast will look a little different today and in the near future as we, out of an abundance of caution, reduce our staffing at VOA headquarters here in Washington. We're working to help keep you informed about what's going on, and we appreciate you staying with us on Africa 54. The 2020 U.S. presidential election continues to be filled with anxiety and high drama. In a brief address Thursday evening at the White House, President Donald Trump claimed without evidence that he was being cheated out of a second term. As the vote counting continued in several key battleground states, the president spoke in the briefing room saying leads he held in swing states were being whittled down in secret. Former Vice President Joe Biden, the Democratic Party candidate, leads Trump in both the popular vote and the more important Electoral College count, which determines the winner. We'll have more on the vote coming up in just a few minutes. For continuing coverage of the election, visit voanews.com. Now to Ethiopia's rebellious northern Tigray region, where a state of emergency is in effect on Friday, following Parliament's validation of the 6-month action on Thursday. The Ethiopian federal government has launched a military campaign on the Tigray region despite international pleas for negotiation to avoid a civil war. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed on Wednesday ordered troops into Tigray in response to a deadly attack on a federal military base in the regional capital, Mekelle. Abiy's administration blames the Tigray People's Liberation Front, which controls the regional government, of authorizing the attack. The Tigray regional government says that Ethiopian military forces have bombarded locations near Mekelle. A reporter for VOA's Horn of Africa service says he heard military aircraft passing over the city Thursday around 3 p.m. local time. Ethiopia's federal government has not commented on the reported attack, and VOA has not confirmed any airstrikes in the region. In January, a Somali doctor fulfilled his dream of opening Moghadishu's first advanced diagnostics lab. Soon, the coronavirus pandemic had reached the Horn of Africa. Soraya Ali has the story.
Having scraped money together following medical studies abroad, Somali doctor Abdullahi Sheikh Dondini fulfilled his ambition to open Moghadishu's first advanced diagnostic laboratory in January. It couldn't have come at a better time. 2 months later, and the coronavirus pandemic reached the Horn of Africa. Dini runs Medipark Diagnostics with 5 other doctors who pooled $1 million to buy equipment.
We saw there was a dire need for a lab in Somalia because tests were sent abroad. We proposed and established this lab instead of opening a hospital.
Hospitals in the battle-scarred city used to have to wait weeks for blood test results, but can now go to the lab to test for conditions including HIV and hepatitis. But as the Somali government has acknowledged, it's in the fight against COVID-19 that Medipark has made its most obvious impact. Until July, it was the only private lab in the city testing for the virus. But since then, its technicians have trained government health workers. Medipark has also arranged import pipelines for reagents needed in testing. In a country that has been plagued by conflict since 1991, there were fears that COVID-19 could scythe through the population. But that has not happened. The Health Ministry has recorded 4,229 infections and 107 deaths. Though with large swathes of the country inaccessible due to fighting, it's likely to be an undercount. Nevertheless, the virus appears to have failed to gain a foothold in the capital. And that, to some degree, may be down to a group of doctors with a dream.
Reuters' Soraya Ali with that report. U.S. President Donald Trump's campaign is intensifying legal actions to challenge the integrity of the ballot counting process in several battleground states as Democratic nominee Joe Biden inches closer to securing 270 electoral votes to win the White House. Our White House correspondent, Patsy Widakuswara, has the latest.
Dueling protests and accusations about vote counting in Philadelphia in the battleground state of Pennsylvania.
I've seen the pictures on TV of people counting the ballots in the Philly polling places, actually wearing Biden face masks and Biden T-shirts.
When you say there's an arbitrary time to stop counting votes, you know, that's disenfranchisement.
Democratic nominee Joe Biden, much closer than President Donald Trump to reaching 270 electoral votes to secure victory, projected confidence and called for calm.
Democracy is sometimes messy. It sometimes requires a little patience as well. But that patience has been rewarded now for more than 240 years with a system of governance that's been the envy of the world.
Meanwhile, Trump, without evidence, accused Democrats of voter fraud and suppression and trying to steal the election.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us.
As ballots continue to be tallied, there has been scant evidence of fraud. Still, the Trump campaign is laying the groundwork to challenge the result, launching dozens of lawsuits involving vote counting in key states including Georgia, Michigan, and Pennsylvania.
I think they will do that in all the states where the margin of victory is close, in the hope that some of them might eventually get to the U.S. Supreme Court, where I think they legitimately think they have a more sympathetic audience with the 6-3 conservative majority.
In Nevada, the Trump campaign sued, claiming without evidence that thousands of non-residents cast ballots.
They continue to count illegal votes. That is unacceptable.
The Trump campaign won a lawsuit to ensure representatives can better observe vote counting in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. A similar Stop the Count lawsuit in Michigan was dismissed. Another lawsuit in Georgia accusing election officials of improperly intermingling ineligible ballots with valid ones was also thrown out. The Biden campaign called the barrage of lawsuits a flailing strategy.
They are meritless and nothing more than an attempt to distract and delay what is now inevitable. Joe Biden will be the next president of the United States.
All eyes are now on Pennsylvania and Georgia. Trump must win both states to secure the presidency, while Biden can win without either state if he holds onto his slim leads in Arizona and Nevada. Patsy Widakuswara, VOA News, Washington.
VOA's Duyile is in Wilmington, Delaware, with more details on Joe Biden's race to an electoral race to 270.
I'm here at the Chase Center in Wilmington, Delaware, where the Biden campaign remains very optimistic regarding the outcome of the election. They are being very careful not to declare victory yet. So the atmosphere is very calm. If something major happens, it will be here at the Chase Center. There are a few ways that Biden could win the election and obtain the 270 votes that he needs in order to be president. And the major way would be through Arizona and Nevada. If he's able to obtain those two states, he's going to become president. So for now, VOA has not called Arizona. We are still waiting because a lot of votes have not been opened yet, mail-in ballots. So we're waiting to see what's going to be the outcome in Arizona and also in Nevada. So the second possibility for Biden would be to win Pennsylvania. If he wins Pennsylvania, he will obtain 20 electoral votes, and that would set him over the top, and he will then be president of the United States. So we're still expecting to see what's going to happen in the next few hours, maybe later in the night or the day. In terms of numbers, Joe Biden has already set a record. He obtained 72 million votes, which is the first time that a candidate in a U.S. election obtained that many votes. So that's already a record in this historic election.
That was VOA's Duyile reporting from Wilmington, Delaware. As we continue our election coverage, a reminder to log on to voanews.com for the latest updates in race for the White House. With election-related emotions running high in the U.S., Twitter, Facebook, and other internet giants are trying different ways to address misinformation on their sites. Michelle Quinn reports.
As the United States grapples with the results of Election Day, an online battle has been taking place on Twitter, Facebook, and sites like LinkedIn over information, some say misinformation, about the election and its results. There are a lot of stories out there.
False claims about voter fraud. We're seeing a lot of, just a flood of such claims. Calls to violence or calls to protest or calls to speak, fight conspiracies that are just not real. And that is dangerous. It's a democratic emergency. And we're terrified about these false claims further polarizing the American people and leading to a collapse in trust in our institutions.
Twitter is trying to stop the spread of misinformation by labeling some tweets and preventing their ability to spread. Facebook is labeling posts and pointing users to its election site. On Thursday, it removed a Stop the Steal group used to organize protests against vote counting. Google-owned YouTube is posting a label on some videos, but leaving up some, making claims that appear to violate its policy. Misinformation about the vote count is also being posted in Spanish on Twitter and Facebook. One Spanish-language theme was that President Donald Trump is being robando, or robbed, of a win in the election. These steps signal a new willingness by internet firms to step into the maelstrom of facts and misinformation, even when prominent people are speaking. Efforts like these are crucial for citizens to trust the final election results, according to experts.
The more we can tamp down these disinformation and misinformation campaigns hitting Americans so that we can believe that the system is actually working for us. Because at the end of the day, we're the ones who own the system. We're a government of the people, by the people, for the people. And so we deserve some level of transparency here.
Despite these steps, some feel internet firms should be doing more, such as retroactive corrections.
For everyone who has liked or engaged or seen the piece of misinformation before Facebook puts a label on it, they should send them a correction saying, sorry, we have, through our fact checkers, detected that this is false.
One thing is clear, as Americans await final results, the internet sites will continue to be ripe ecosystems for real and fake information. Michelle Quinn, VOA News.
In countries across Africa, a continent where recent elections have been marred by violence and allegations of cheating, residents are expressing alarm and a touch of amusement at the events surrounding the U.S. elections. Angela Okumadu reports.
Many countries across the African continent are no stranger to disputed elections and claims of voter fraud.
Legal challenges.
That's why some have observed events around the U.S. election with a wry smile. Nigerian consultant Abo Elemi.
Before now, we feel America is a model. But a soothsayer doesn't need to tell us that the America we are looking at as a model in everything is not even a model when it comes to electioneering.
In Nairobi, MAURICE NANDASABA watched as Americans barricaded shops and offices, fearing looting and violence.
Something that we normally experience in Africa. Can this happen in a country that has seen democracy for centuries?
On Wednesday, the U.S. Embassy in Ivory Coast urged dialogue and a return to the rule of law following the West African nation's own disputed election on Saturday. Some took umbrage with one Twitter user writing, "I believe the playground response is, why are you talking about yourself?" Pierre VINCENT-KECONGO is a computer engineer in the capital, Abidjan.
We're used to seeing a country that respects rights, respects the Constitution, respects all things democratic. Now, with what we see on the television, we don't know anymore.
well as surprise, there was also concern. Back in the Kenyan capital, resident James Nyamwaya said that Trump declaring himself president was a very dangerous trend for Africa.
Because tomorrow we are going to have leaders from all over coming to claim that they have won elections.
He added that America is losing its direction as a world leader.
Angela Okumadu of Reuters with that report. For the up-to-the-minute election news, visit voanews.com. The balance of power in the U.S. Congress will come down to just a few close races across the nation where votes are still being counted. As VOA's congressional correspondent Catherine Gibson reports, the race to control the U.S. Senate could stretch into next year.
Control of the United States Senate could be decided here in Georgia, as volunteers count ballots where the margin between Republican Senator David Perdue and Democratic challenger Jon Ossoff is incredibly close.
It's not just that you're a crook, Senator.
Republicans went into Election Day with a 53-47 majority in the U.S. Senate. To win control, Democrats need to gain 3 seats if Joe Biden becomes president and 4 seats if Donald Trump is reelected.
If Biden is elected, he is known as someone who has worked across the aisle throughout his career. And if the Democrats have a narrower base in the House, they are going to be looking for allies. So there is some chance under a Democratic administration with divided control that there would be some sort of bipartisanship.
Good evening, Arizona.
Election Day success for Democrats in Arizona, where Mark Kelly beat Republican Martha McSally, and in Colorado, where former Governor John Hickenlooper won his Senate race. But Republicans picked up a Senate seat in Alabama and held on to seats in several close races, including contests in Iowa, Maine, and South Carolina, where President Trump's close ally, Senator Lindsey Graham, beat a well-funded Democratic challenge.
People like what I'm doing, and I'm going to keep doing it.
Whether it's Trump or Biden occupying the White House, control of the U.S. Senate will determine what work gets done in Washington for the next 2 years. Democrats had also hoped to add to their majority in the U.S. House of Representatives.
But I'm here just to sing the praises of our House Democrats and our candidates.
But House Democrats did not make as many gains as projected. Still, they will keep their majority.
It really hinges on who wins the presidential race, some of this, because President Trump and Nancy Pelosi haven't even seen each other really for a year. There's a lot of bad blood between the two of them. So I think it would be very difficult for President Trump to get a new legislative platform through the Congress.
The final makeup of the U.S. Senate will not be known until January. That's when the other Georgia Senate race between Republican Kelly Loeffler and Democratic challenger Raphael Warnock goes into a runoff election. Catherine Gibson, VOA News, Washington.
The coronavirus pandemic has wiped out an estimated 2 million jobs in Kenya, forcing many into the informal economy. For many of these, the secret to remaining financially afloat has been a cooperative savings and loan movement, the largest in Africa. With more than 14 million members making monthly contributions, Kenya's cooperatives offer loans during tough times, helping many to ride out the pandemic or even start their own businesses. Mohammed Yusuf reports from Nairobi.
30-year-old Judy Muthama's business was wiped out by COVID-19 pandemic. She is restarting her business with a $600 loan from a saving and credit union, where she has had a membership for 3 years. Muthama says that if it were not for the cooperative, she would have given up on her business. She says it is a cooperative that improved her situation each time she ran into financial constraints. She says she goes to the cooperative to borrow money so she can continue with the business. Otherwise, Muthama says she would have been out of business long ago. Muthama is one of some 14 million Kenyans who are members of cooperative societies. that depend on monthly member contributions to survive. The cooperatives are helping members get through tough economic periods many other ways.
They really appreciate that the cooperative have worked with them in a number of things. We have given them the meal vouchers, the hand washes, the masks. We have given them some of them the loans to take back their kids to school.
The cooperatives in Kenya are member-driven. Those who work with these unions are impressed by how well organized and effective they are.
So by their very nature, there is one from the outside assisting these members to achieve their goals. It's purely based on their own energies and their own ability to collectivize. And I think that's really exciting because there's no man behind the curtain. There's no one who's there at the end of the day to take the bulk of the profits. What they are able to achieve is squarely their own.
Isaac Nyamongo is a member of the Kenya Cooperative Coronavirus Response Committee. He says they have helped 44,000 people.
As a committee, we set up what we call a coop kit. And in this kit, we provided some basic food stuff for the vulnerable households. And within that, we also provided masks for prevention. And then we also provided within that kit sanitizers and soap. The whole idea was, while it was important for us to provide food to the vulnerable households, we also wanted to give them a means with which to prevent infection.
The cooperative societies are likely to remain active in coming months, but the increased number of positive coronavirus cases might slow the economic recovery. Moghadisu for VOA News, Nairobi.
For decades, the African diaspora has made significant contribution to the continent's socio-economic development through the transfer of skills, socio-cultural influence, and remittances. However, observers say the African diaspora can play a greater role in the development of the continent through entrepreneurship and job creation. Africa 54's Lino Mudu spoke with Remi Duyile, founder of the Legacy Premier Foundation, to discuss the upcoming Legacy Global Summit and some steps the diaspora can take to leverage its economic impact.
Our Africa, as you and I know, is that emerging economy, is that emerging community, is that community that's developing middle-class people, is that community that has their landed people who are returning back home and taking their knowledge back to their respective homes. So what we have made happen in other nations where they have hosted us very well, we thank them, God bless them, but some of us are returning back and taking the same knowledge and creating opportunities in country so we can better leverage ourselves with our brothers and sisters.
As a diasporan in general, what are some of the things that are essential when we try to go back to the continent to establish business?
When I say going back to Africa, it's not just about physically transporting yourself and creating opportunities. You know, the world is a global village now. A click of a button, you can be anywhere. From my experience and what I see work is first finding out what are we passionate about, whether it be women, men, whoever, youth, what are we passionate about? Because it's that passion that will propel you to think out of the box and to find creative ways to find solutions. Because one thing we all know is that we need solutions for our Africa to work. So what we need to do as diasporans who are looking to do business, I wouldn't say go back, or whoever wants to physically go, when the time is right, you would know. You can start building here. When you build here, you will have different partnerships that can support your vision. People like to do business with people they like and trust. So they see you doing this and they see consistency. So it's not just you just writing something on paper, it's you showing them what can happen. It might be as little as impacting 2 lives, 10 lives, it doesn't matter. But it helps you build a system. So that system can now be transported, whereby you now begin to build physical features and structures if that's needed.
When we hear diaspora returning, people think if you don't pick up your luggage and go back and stay there, you cannot really have an impact. But what you're describing here is we can have impact in different capacities.
We really can, and that's what our company does. I mean, we have impact. You get to your own horn, but for a moment, I want to do that. That's what we have been doing. We've been able to have a program that we've impacted lives, and we've seen the change, the before and the after. This conference that we're about to have is a brain. A lot of the young people are part of it, and they're not here in America. They are all over the world. So just know that you are ready to mentor people. You are ready to share your gift and your talent with patients, with other people, and you learn from them.
You mentioned the event you're about to have. It's the Legacy Global Summit. It's going to be virtual. Talk to us about this summit, why it's so important at this specific time.
The whole genesis of why we wanted a Legacy Global Summit was to create an ecosystem of businesses, of people with access to capital, people with technical expertise who can relate to one another and begin to do business and to make it an intergenerational bridge building. So it's about bringing people who have good intent for development of the global development, wherever they are from. So we have a segment on doing business in the UAE, doing business in Africa. We have section on intergenerational discourse, how entertainment will help with nation building. And we have college that are going to be represented. And we're praying by God's grace on the 5th and 6th that lives will be touched and people will see the value of the conference and be able to do a follow-up, which will create economic empowerment in the Black community, not just the African. If you don't have an idea and work that you want to do, no matter how much money you make, you're just gonna waste it. So find something to do, and knowing that you're not alone. This is a village concept. Let's begin to celebrate one another. Let's begin to create platforms like this for one another so that people can know. Let's toot our own horn and showcase ourselves and support one another, and let's see what God will do.
Remi Duyile, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
That was Africa 54's Linomudu speaking with Remi Duyile, founder of the Legacy Premier Foundation. For continuing coverage of the race for the White House, visit news.com. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, have a great weekend.